The first item we have today is fire mechanic, other auto materials. So this year, we've spent quite a bit of money on repairs for ambulances in our fire truck. We had a little bit of an accident with our fire truck a couple of months ago, so they kind of cleaned out some of our auto materials account.
I will move this.
Thank you.
I'll like to second it. I had the fire department at Emily's house yesterday.
I have a question though.
Okay.
Because I know you've been a stickler on our meetings too with the, if we're on video and stuff voting. If we're not live streaming, is that going to be all right?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Because we are making it quote public. I don't think anyone's ever watched our YouTube feed for E&A
No,
before.
I think at this point, because of the
Technical issue.
technicality at this point, then.
Okay, as long as we're
We don't
I'm
make a habit of it.
okay with it
Yeah.
as long as we're okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward.
All right, let's do it.
Our next item is for repairs. This kind of goes along with the ambulance
Yeah,
repairs.
I'll move that one.
Second on that one, or whoever wants to take it.
I'll move it.
Same with this. Hey, I went through all these.
The fire EMT, other supplies.
I'll move this one.
Second.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
Engineering, we needed unexpected, we don't get them very often, ink cards.
Galimi, move it.
Okay,
We should buy laser
you.
printers. You know?
these are the big
I'm
quality.
I know, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
good with
I
it,
know
boys.
it is. I know.
Thank you.
So I'm good with this.
The team viewer,
Yeah.
remote desktop software.
I'll second it. Galimi seconds this one.
Thank you.
The next item is a cleanup, as it relates to holiday and unused facilities.
Move.
Second
Galimi.
on Utica.
Thank
This will be
you.
quicker.
Galimi's moving the water usage.
Galimi's moving everything. Well, medical is
Thank you.
second everything. How's
Next
that?
one is the police admin unused.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The codes contractual, they had to buy new international code books, the codes changed this year.
Codes are moved.
Well,
Hey,
Two.
Thank
Mary, you
you.
want to do something? Just a heck.
You guys are doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I
all.
went through them earlier,
all
so I mean, as
easy.
long as it's nothing new, I don't, you
Now, is
know.
this demolition overtime have to do with the, Dave Street demolition or?
Yeah, we're not taking, it's not getting additional overtime, we're just putting it into contractual. We had some needs up there when we did the James Street tear down.
Okay. What do we do all the garbage? Do we gotta pay to have that sent
Oh,
over
yeah,
there?
absolutely.
What's this costing the city? Is it something you could talk
The
about?
tipping fees.
The tipping
The
fees,
tip- what's this?
it's always, depending on the level, if it's hot or it's not. So for an example, what we're looking for at this point, if you've driven by there, there's a lot of steel.
Yeah.
We're trying to work with somebody, because it's gotta be cut up, just to have whoever cuts it up, Empire, or whatever, take it out. There's a,
It's a win-win for them.
yes, exactly. And then the tipping fee is obviously whatever the cost can be. It averages for a normal home, a residential home, roughly about maybe $30,000.
Mhm. And what's that coming out of the whole demo job? What's that coming out of? I mean, do we get,
CDTV.
are we getting any, okay, so it's all gonna be from.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the tipping fees, we usually don't get down to like each of these.
I mean, it's actually a pretty good landfill. I'm surprised little people wouldn't want that. Those are bricks and everything like that.
It depends what's the mix with.
You don't know if
Unless
they're
it's
hot or not.
asbestos and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually take it down hot.
What's that mean?
Hot means it could have asbestos in it,
Oh.
we get it out.
Friable
Now,
material.
where's it go?
It goes into a different landfill,
There's a
which
special
is more
landfill.
costly.
Mhm.
But you still have to I mean, these conditions right now, when it's this cold, we stop because you gotta spray water on it.
Ices
When
up.
it's this cold, yeah, it kind of just freezes.
So there's no work going on there today?
No, I would say by the end of the week, maybe next week we can
Just
start
bunch of-
again.
Just a pile, I was went by it today, it's just
Yeah.
a pile of bricks right now,
Right.
so.
Right.
Okay, I'm good on that, and then I'm good on the coded stipend building code.
I'll second both of those.
Okay, the infrastructure gas, as you can maybe recall, I was here a couple of months ago. Our gas was up, and after some due diligence, you may recall we bought a bucket truck and a
Yep.
truck for Matt Caffrey and the lab. They are out assisting with lights and things, so.
I saw him out there, so I'm seconding it. Yeah.
Our
I was
next
watching the
item
gas station.
is to purchase a Ford Explorer. So we have a little bit of money left in some of our capital accounts, and this would be a Ford Explorer. They haven't had a new vehicle. I don't know they've ever had a new vehicle, but we need a vehicle. Some of our employees are not petite.
Well, you got Danny Coes, though. Listen, you've got some of them that are.
No, I understand. They're driving around in those little ass
Right,
roads.
I mean, the reality is, and sometimes they have work with them that they
Is this,
need
is
something.
part of this covered by that escort that got demolished a couple months ago? Or maybe it was last year, around when COVID
No,
started?
not that I'm aware
Okay.
of.
I mean,
No.
14,000, is this a used vehicle?
No,
It's 14,000?
no, it's all we need, plus what we had.
What was left over from last year or something?
No, there's several capital accounts where there's a little bit of money. If there's a parks truck, there's 4,000 left. There was a fire vehicle, there's 2,000 left. You know, we estimated, we put it in there, and so we try to purchase things that have a similar use. We let
If the
that money sit.
administration wants this purchase, I would support it, so
Yes, absolutely.
let's go for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Okay, I'll move it.
Good.
One other thing I just want to mention, beyond all of this, we saw a lot of chatter over the weekend.
I have one as well, when you're done, so let's not adjourn. I got a
So,
couple-
you know, there was some chatter about what's in the $350 billion to state and local aid from the COVID bill. It's important to remember that we get alone $16 million in state aid. That doesn't include, probably another $3 million, between CHIPS aid, variety of other state grants that we get, maybe a little bit less than that.
Mhm.
And so I'm not quite sure what the state's going to do. You know, they, in their budget, they've taken 2.5% away from us. But we're expecting a check at the end of March. That's why.
They went with 2.5%? Okay, and that's across the board, not just the state aid, that's why you're mentioning the other
No,
things?
no, I guess what I'm mentioning is because I saw some chatter, on Facebook about this $350 billion and how much may be coming to the city of Utica and how it can all be spent for paving and all kinds of other projects.
I did not see the chatter, but
Yeah. And
Facebook's a lovely place.
And on first blush, you
She's the
would
mayor,
say
you know
that.
what?
On first blush, you would say, oh my God, we're getting this money, we can use it for
Oh,
these great
that
things.
chatter, yeah, I saw that chatter. Yeah.
But the problem is that you forget, people forget that we also get a significant amount of state aid annually, and at any point they could go in and cut it if they want, and
Yeah.
say, you got this money, so you can use it. So we just have to, as part of B&A, we need to be careful that until we have more guidelines and we actually get some kind of confirmation. The state right now could say, we're not giving you the $11 million at the end of March, you're getting this money from the feds, take it from that. So that's, we're not gonna really know anything until we get that state aid check at the end of March. If we get it, hopefully we get it. So, I just caution anyone, if you're out and about and you're hearing any of that, that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I'll just be open about it. Someone put on because now I know what you're talking about. Someone put on Facebook that we're getting $60 million, which is horribly misleading. I was gonna ask you off to the side and say, what are we actually getting? Because that seems a little disproportionate to what the city actually lost. So, yeah, a point taken. Yeah, and obviously.
It's just
yeah.
the problem, we don't know how much we're getting at this
Yeah.
point, we have an idea, but we don't know what it can be used for.
Well, that's-
We don't know.
As soon as the city finds out, she will find out immediately because there's somebody in the city that's telling her everything.
Well, I don't know who it is because I'll be,
Because she's coming out with stuff that we haven't even released yet.
apparently it was in Syracuse on their,
What I was gonna
however,
say
I
is,
talked, just so we fully understand, I talked to Schumer's office on Sunday. And it still has to be ratified.
Exactly.
As
It's not
Heather,
even- it's not even
as
done.
Heather is saying, the guidelines are not there. However, I can tell you, it cannot be used in the budget to either reduce
Yep.
our budget. It cannot be used for pension costs, but it may be a program that we're able to do things as we've talked about, potentially helping out the businesses that have sacrificed over the last year. That may be a supplement to some of the landlords and the tenants. There may be, but until we have the guidelines, it's premature to say where it's going, how it's going. And again, it's just somebody grandstanding for the purpose.
here's the thing
of
though,
grandstanding.
that information that was on Facebook is not coming from the quote city. It's coming from the people that showed up here around 2017 and started organizing. It's just the reality of it.
No,
It's-
there's other stuff that's been coming out.
oh yeah, definitely. But I mean,
There's
it's all
somebody that's feeding her in the city here.
right. Well, regardless.
Bring it to anyone personal. All I'm
I do, I
suggesting
am.
is that we need to keep communicating with the different council people and others that,
Right.
we don't have any, we don't know anything for sure at this moment.
Yeah, and
Linda will do something. And
telling people they have stuff to plan for before it's even official yet is just horrible. And then you got people.
I'm gonna put the 60 million in one account, the mayor's gonna have personal say over it, and he'll be able to do it and everything.
Yeah. A lot of nice shoelaces. So,
Sarcasm, folks, if you're all listening.
yeah. I know, I always have to remind people that I'm always like seriously kidding.
Well, this isn't
Yeah.
even, this isn't on anyway.
Yes,
yeah?
it is.
It is.
Gotta go up later.
All right, so,
I thought we weren't.
in all seriousness, you actually said the word I was gonna bring up, because it's something I talked about at the council meeting. I wanted to talk to you and the controller about this. I don't think, maybe there's something we could do in E&A, but it probably most likely is council. The landlords, they're all,
But I just, I,
well, no, it's something specific. I'm not gonna go on a rant.
okay.
March 15th, by law, we have to start filing all the paperwork, people are behind. Is there, I know you may already be working on
We've been
something.
helping every one of them out, Mike. Everyone that comes to us, we've been waiving penalties and interest where we can, liens, we
But
can't
there's,
do it.
well, so here's my point, there's still a stay in evictions. I don't know how legitimately, because I've been trying to figure this out too, how legitimately they're gonna dig out, and I don't wanna see us have to foreclose on all these people.
Okay,
What can we do?
So,
They
okay,
keep it small business. law.
Yeah.
They should qualify for
Okay,
small
so-
Yeah, I
business.
know, and they don't, that's my point,
It's
so.
ridiculous.
Could I-
A landscaper can get it, but the guy who owns 5 houses can't. I mean, it's.
I would just tell you at this point, this is something we're already addressing through some of the CARES Act that we have. We will institute something at some point as soon as we have it's gotta be approved by HUD before we do anything.
So you said more than I said.
I will tell you at this point, we're very proactive at this point.
Yes, the
And
city
there's
is.
a number of things that we're looking at, but until we have all the details, it's kind of premature to put something out there until we have all the guidance that we need.
All right, well, so I know you probably understand this, but this is the issue that's going on here. There's literally a stay in evictions. These people are going to have to pay for the paperwork we file on March 15th. They're all basically been hung out to dry. Even if these people go to court now, the second the court's open, they run and they're not getting their money. Just like Bill said, we're putting, not we, the city, but the landlords have been put in a position where they're gonna be permanently backwards.
Oh, yeah, these people never
And-
pay their rent.
and
They'll never pay.
They're not gonna pay their
They're gonna
rent.
leave.
Yeah, but they can't, but here's the problem. They're not leaving anyways because there's no incentive to actually even file for the assistance as a renter because Cuomo has a stay in evictions.
Right, but once that's
They're
up,
22.
supposed to pay the back rent, right?
right.
Yeah, but here's what's going on. But here's what's
Well,
going
watch
on.
what happens with the small claims court. You're not gonna be able to get a case through in about 6 months.
Well, and there was a small instance where they did allow for people to bring court cases a couple months ago.
Nuisance abatement.
In that window, here's what happened. The second that was open, people left in the middle of the night. They're not gonna pay that back rent of
No question.
$5,500.
That's for sure, Mike. Everybody knows that. And so the only recourse that the owners are, they have to go to small claims court.
So why don't we do this?
They hope
We
you have a
understand,
job and you put a lien on the.
we understand that we have a problem. Let's see how the funding is, how we're able to address that to the landlords, the small businesses of the city.
Yeah, because that's
And
really
some
the
of the
problem.
tenants. It is a major problem.
The tenants already have a program.
I'll-
They're not
I'll-
applying, and the ones that apply are getting denied.
Well, the other
I
problem
will
is, Mike,
vote on that. I'll give you my support on that. As long as they're not one of the landlord that has multiple codes on them.
okay, so one of the problems we don't want to have happen at this point is all of a sudden our infrastructure becomes out of sight because we can't cite the landlords because they're saying we have no money.
Which they
So
don't.
it's starting to just
No.
go in disrepair. We have a domino effect and we're going to address it from the foundation and work it all out. We'll look at the homes, we'll look at the landlords, we'll look at the tenants, and we'll come up with a program that is going to be approved by HUD and be able to help with our infrastructure so we don't have this onslaught of foreclosures because everyone's walking away.
Well, the onslaught is in 2 weeks. That's the problem, because the state was relying on the fact that the federal program for renters was going to be paying the rent for these people, but then the state issued a stay in eviction, and now you've got a bunch of people who aren't even eligible for rent relief, who knew they couldn't be evicted, who didn't pay.
Well, from the court system, quite frankly, this system never worked because it was not across the line not to pay.
No, that's
It
the problem. There was no court.
anybody
There was
who
no court
related-
system.
Was related to the pandemic itself. Anybody was applicable, and what has happened is the courts have seen it as a different level, and they're not.
The
They're
courts
not even-
haven't seen it. That's the issue.
Well, yes, they have.
No, they literally have not.
They have refused to do anything whatsoever to even entertain it. So,
Because of the stay in evictions, the landlords literally are being denied
right,
right
but
to
the
trial.
stay,
The
what I'm
courts haven't
saying,
seen it.
Mike, what I'm
I'm
saying.
not arguing with you. I'm
No,
just mad
the
about
stay
it.
of eviction is supposed to be applicable if you lost your job due to the pandemic, that's where it's applicable. If he's still getting all his money that's coming in,
Right, and I don't
and
pay,
he doesn't pay,
shame on me.
it's the same.
But they still won't allow those cases to be tried.
That's my point. My
Yeah.
point is
But that
that
has
the
to go to
courts
court.
are not following what the emergency order is really saying. That's all I'm saying. Everybody had a standoff.
But
They're not gonna have, they're not gonna have some
Around-
lady coming in there saying, well, I can't pay for whatever reason.
I think there's a
But
conflict.
cross the line.
It's because of the stay in evictions.
Well, it is, but the interpretation was never, ever fulfilled the way it should have been from the beginning. And that train just left the tracks. And now we are looking at people not paying. Landlords can't fix it because they don't have any money.
Right, so genuinely, I am asking, and I'm not, this is not a grandstanding bullshit thing, but I'm genuinely asking this board, we can't commit, obviously, we're just talking about it, but if we have anything, the $5 million we got through HUD for the renters did not work. It's still sitting there. The landlords are all back on their, literally backwards in their taxes in the five and maybe some of them six-figure situation. Can this city, are we gonna be willing to stand up and say, the federal aid didn't work for the landlords, the state aid did not work for the landlords, now the federal government has given the city assistance. We do need to, quote, bail out the landlords, just like all the other businesses, because they have been completely left out of this.
So-
And no one cares, because they're just telling them, well, your renters could be going and filing, why don't you help them with the paperwork?
So-
And now I've got landlords coming to me saying, I've been shoving the paperwork to them
Right.
and helping them, and they're not doing it.
I know you're not grandstanding. All I
Yeah,
can tell you is
I'm really
that
frustrated with this
we,
right now,
we,
because
we
it's gonna be
are acknowledging
oh my
it.
God,
We
it's gonna be a
have
disaster.
discussed it. We're already fine tuning it. Again, we're waiting for the approval
Okay.
at this point, and
What's the time, what's the timeline? Because
Again, I'm not federal government.
I know, but
It
we're gonna
takes a long,
we're gonna foreclose on everyone in 2 weeks.
But Mike, we could tell them and ask them as much as we can.
All right.
They get back to us when they get back to us because we're not the only city that's going through this.
All right,
So
so-
we already have a plan that we're trying to introduce. We're waiting for Brian to get the approval so we can say, yes, we're gonna move forward. Then you got the next layer to this. If there's money coming out
All right, so here's my
from the
question.
federal, from the 1.9 trillion, we understand that this has been a major problem in the city of Utica. There are some tenants, like Jack has said, that landlords don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's unfortunate. Then you got some landlords who this is their business
Mhm.
and they're being affected by this. And third, it's the city at the end of the day, we're holding the bag because we don't want to see our building infrastructure
Right.
deteriorating
Yeah.
to the point where the landlord's going to say, I got 2
There's
more
also
years,
a third
I
group-
can't put the money
There's
into it.
also a third
the hell
group
with
of
it.
landlords that are getting
So
screwed here too, and it's,
the short answer to it, we're aware of it. We're gonna put as much force behind
Right,
it as
so-
we can.
yes or no question then. Can we do something where landlords can be allowed to be brought up to the fact where they're not behind X amount of months so that at least we aren't foreclosed, starting all the
Well,
foreclosures now?
that's more for bills.
Can we do that? I know we did it last year already, but extending, this
Well, the
is,
foreclosures are on the stall until May first. But those fees are gonna go in March 15th. Like I said, when landlords reach out to us, Mike, we're working with them where we can.
no, I know you are.
We just had a situation last week that I had a landlord come to me and I met with Bill and we worked it out.
We were able to help them out, you know?
And this is
They
not
gotta
a
reach out
one
to us.
home. This is an individual that has
28
28 properties.
I know, and I guess the third group that I was bringing
And then
up
there's good
is,
landlords like the Zenas who have 38 properties and they pay everything right on time regardless, so. Because they have good tenants that are paying them too. though.
exactly,
Part of it's these guys have.
that's part of it's rent
Tenants
coming in
that
or
are
not.
So it is a problem. We're aware of the problem. We're trying to, and we will address the problem.
And then there are some smaller ones. There's elderly people who own 2 and 3 family houses that depended on that as their retirement to live in their own home. And they're also being put in a position where they're either having to put their houses up for sale, and then they're gonna end up with nothing. All right.
And we're sitting on a bunch of property from the last foreclosure.
Yes.
We haven't had an
Right.
auction where we
But
haven't.
there was
you are-
mortgage relief, and there's still mortgage relief available, so if they've been, adversely affected by COVID, there are outlets, neighborhood housing, we have outlets.
Well, some of them aren't mortgage relief. I mean, these people live in the houses they're paid for. They're just trying to pay
That's
the
more-
taxes.
well.
Yeah.
But Mike, if anybody directly has something, have them direct us to our office.
All right.
Yeah, Well, where
We try to do as
All right, well,
much
here's the
as we
deal.
can.
If I'm publicly addressing this, it's not going after you guys, it's going after the fact that the state, did create a conflict between the federal aid and the state doing a stay in evictions. It totally disincentivized people actually trying to get the relief because they just didn't care. So I'm just
But
letting you
everybody
guys
knows
know.
that.
Yeah, well, I know everybody knows that, but at the state level, it's not getting addressed either. So I feel like it is for once time to kind of
They just totally
publicly
forgot about the
represent it.
landlords.
Yes, and that's my point. So if I end up in the next couple of weeks talking about this stuff publicly, I understand that we are doing everything we can.
That's all, if
Yeah.
you're gonna talk about it, Mike, the only thing I would.
I'll
say
always preface
is
it with
that-
that. I'll
yeah.
always
The
preface
same
it.
thing, because I know Jack
Call of Duty.
has called me
Here.
multiple times about this, and I said the same thing, as the fact we just had the conversation. We are certainly, recognize it is a problem. We think the federal government recognizes it as a problem, and we're gonna do everything in our power that we don't end up with an onslaught of homes that are beyond the point of.
And ruined.
Well, that's the thing, and then we'll have a bunch of,
Empty and ruined.
Well,
not only that, but we'll have a bunch of landlords who we can't even go after because if they owe 40 grand in taxes, but they never get the rent for it. I mean, they don't have the money to pay it.
It's a two-part,
Yeah.
well, it's a three-part.
It's casting
It's
the
the tenant, the
Like you
landlord,
said,
and the
it's a
city.
domino effect, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't evict the ones that destroy your house. You know, normally you can get rid of those, but you can't get rid of them. So your
Yeah.
house is gonna be destroyed.
Yeah.
And then these tenants are really facing a tough battle going forward. And even after COVID's done, they're gonna have to fix their houses up.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to get new renters.
Well, at
And-
this point, some of the landlords, that's what they're saying. They're like, we don't even want the back rent. We just want to be allowed to start over
Right,
and start getting rent.
And you're just,
Somebody.
and who are you gonna get? You're gonna get the people that didn't pay the last landlord.
Yeah, they're just gonna move her up.
Everybody's just gonna
Now
do
they
it.
got plenty of money because they didn't have to pay rent for it.
Which that was going on anyways, but COVID just accelerated it. These people they're professional rent dodgers, some of them. And a lot of them genuinely can't pay. You know what I mean?
So does the 1.9 trillion bill deal with any of these issues?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
No, the 6 million that the city got, what was the biggest, how'd we use that mainly?
And our CARES Act money,
Right,
we had money set aside for mortgage relief, and people that couldn't pay their rent. This county also has a significant program which lasts longer than ours,
Yes,
which has got no fault of our own.
6 million.
did we spend all our 6 million?
No. No.
But
Yeah,
it's not all for rent relief. The county's is.
Right.
Yeah, and the trouble with the rent relief problem is genuinely the stay-in evictions created a situation where it's easier to just not pay, knowing 6 months later you could just dodge it all
Yeah,
and leave.
yeah, right.
And that's what's going on right now. That stay-in evictions created
You
that.
have to document.
But, and the city of Utica can't forgive the landlords. You just can't. That's our lifeline to.
We can't forgive the landlords, but here's the problem.
But we have to.
If the federal, state, and local governments are being given money out of these relief bills, right?
Going up?
Maybe the case is are in a position where we have to do that. That's the problem. We're gonna have to make a
It
decision.
depends how much money the federal and state money to give us to compensate for what we're gonna lose.
Well, and my point is, this might be a case which is extenuating where the federal, state governments are putting it on the city to make that decision.
Listen, at the
So we
end of the
might
day,
have to.
what we're gonna be looking for is to make sure that infrastructure, and give the tools to the landlords to improve their properties that has either been destroyed or they don't have the money to take care of it. It's gonna be that. We'll look at the back taxes, if that's part of it. We'll look at whatever the criteria is
Right.
that comes down, we're gonna look at it. Because this is money at this point, we're really starting to see the overall effect of the COVID-19. Not only from a health issue, but from a financial end of it also.
Well, but remember, this could turn into a Grow West, debacle too. If you're gonna start giving money to these landlords.
You're not giving money to
Well,
the
no, if there's money coming in and then he's trying to, you're gonna almost have to start a whole new department within the codes to see what the damages are.
No,
They're getting money to make
It's
sure
simpler
they're,
than that.
they're,
It's way
they're
simpler.
fixing
I'm with
stuff.
you on it turning into a disaster, but here's the other thing. It's simpler than that. And this is the issue. This is why I want to address it now. This isn't a situation of we're, quote, giving landlords, if it came to that, money to pay their taxes. This is a situation where we might have to look at it and say, the federal rent assistance did not work. There was a stay-in evictions, which allowed people not to pay. Now we have monies. Can we or should we make the decision to, quote, let them prove that no one paid them rent? and they should have gotten rent, and now we are in the position where we have to cover that back rent.
I just said that.
Yeah, well, but my
And
point is,
but-
it's not a
and I
Grow
just-
West, that's
I-
not a Grow West.
No,
Grow West was literal embezzlement.
No,
I mean-
stop. No, but I said that originally, but then the mayor said that, well, then we also have infrastructure issues.
Well, he means
So for-
housing infrastructure, the buildings,
Can I
the landlords
finish?
can't maintain them.
Finish.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand it, but because they can't put money into their houses, are they gonna come back to us and looking for money to fix their houses?
If
Are
they-
we gonna have a well,
It's
if we
simple.
do that.
Can you prove that no one paid you for a year? Yes, then that's the money you're eligible to receive. We're not gonna give money to renovate their home.
Well,
That's crazy.
if you got people that are in there and their houses have been destroyed,
Well, that's different.
So do we want to?
well, that's what I'm getting at.
You ready to
Well,
close?
I wanna see Jack and Mike keep on going with this.
I mean, this, you know, we're violently agreeing. I'm all set, but that's,
At the end of the day, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We're all understanding that there is a necessity to address the landlords, the tenants, and we're hoping at this point, once the guidelines come out, we can do this. It's just one phase of all what the pandemic has created throughout the city, not just in Utica, throughout.
yeah.
The landlord program did not work from the state, from the federal
Because it
government.
wasn't a landlord
at all.
program. That's why it didn't work.
It didn't work.
That's why it didn't work.
It didn't work. And the eviction process was horrible.
Can we get a motion to close?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Thanks.